Hello and welcome to Southeastern 16. We're here to talk week one. I'm Chris Lee, joined by Blake Lovell and Jay Greeson. Guys, we've got a better than expected schedule for week one. So many games, I think, of national significance with the SEC, some that may not have as much national significance, but storylines everywhere, almost for every game. Blake, I'm really excited as we kick off the football season. Week zero's in the books. Week one is here. It doesn't get a lot better than this.
It does not. And you guys know we've been talking about it for a little bit here. Our new title sponsor, FanDuel. I can't think of anyone probably more excited than our friends at FanDuel and the man on the right here, Jay Greeson. Probably excited. Already got his bets in because he's not like me, and I just make a bet, 2 minutes before the game and get the worst possible line you can get. But our friends at FanDuel, of course, have all the lines for this one, all the same game parlays, all the bets for every SEC game we're going to talk about this week. And be sure to check them out. Remember, have fun, but bet responsibly. And, yeah, I mean, this week one lineup of games is just tremendous. And I know there's kind of a talking point that Chris wants to get into about exactly maybe the impact of some of these week one games. But nonetheless, Jay, we're here, and the chat is about to get engaged. I don't mean like marriage. I mean like get engaged. Well, I mean they may be with us. It's the start of the season. So, but yeah, they're excited.
Well, if we're gonna stay with the matrimonial theme, here's my proposal for you guys for a really fun FanDuel option. If you go on the FanDuel and go inside the college football header, you can go to the tabs across the top of the screen where it says team specials. And I love this bet for a multitude of reasons. One, I think you get good odds. You can bet before the season for Texas to score one or more rushing touchdown in every regular season game at plus 280 odds. And the reason I really love that bet is because if you're just a casual gambler, and especially if you're a Texas fan, and it gives you an opportunity to make one wager that can play out over 12 weeks, which gives you 12 times the amount of juice as long as the dominoes continue to fall. So, and let's be honest, that with that running back room, I think plus 280 is a gift. I don't want to sully our relationship with FanDuel by giving out so many winners, but I'm already on it at plus 280 for Texas to score a rushing touchdown in every regular season game this season.
Chris, I think Texas has a pretty big game to start things off.
Yeah, and that's kind of where my head is. I think like we can sit and say, okay, what is your most interesting reason of storyline of week one? And Jay would say, I think it's Auburn because of Hugh Freeze and all that's riding on the season for his career, the new offense, Jackson Arnold. Like I can respect that argument, right? But to me, I don't know if this has ever happened. Somebody in the chat might know. Have we ever had a matchup between the preseason AP number one and the defending national champion? I mean, this is the time of year, especially when playoffs matter and losses matter. Like teams aren't playing these kind of games. So to see this type of matchup in week one is super intriguing. And I think LSU Clemson is also on that in that realm of games of importance because both teams are expected to be serious playoff contenders, if not playoff teams. And the question I have as I go through this, guys, the narrative has sort of been, okay, this is a free spot on the Mingo card for LSU by virtue of going to Clemson. Like nobody's going to hold that loss against them. Texas, nobody's going to hold it against Texas if it goes to Ohio State and loses the game to a defending national champion with a super talented quarterback. But I'm going to throw some doubt on that statement because it is just so hard to run the table. And if you start with one loss, like what is our limit of losses that we get for every team? Because hear me out on this, guys. Texas has got a bunch of losable games. I'm not saying they're going to lose these, but at Florida, Oklahoma on a neutral field, at Georgia, at Texas, or excuse me, Texas A&M is in Austin. But that's 5 games if you include Ohio State. That if you squint, I could see Texas losing any of those games. LSU in addition to the game at Clemson, where it's going to be an underdog, could be an underdog at Ole Miss, not by much, but by a little bit, should be an underdog at Alabama, and could be favored by less than a touchdown against Florida, South Carolina, A&M, and Oklahoma. I just don't buy the narrative that this is a free spot on the bingo card for either team because of these schedules ahead and because it is getting so tough to win college football games these days.
Well, the way I phrased it, Chris, I don't think it's a free spot on the bingo card. What I think it is I think it's the community chest in Monopoly get out of jail free card. Because if you go there and play them toe to toe in a true road game with the opportunity there is it gives you get to bank some house money, in my opinion. Every loss in college football should matter. It's the reason it used to be or forever was the greatest regular season in sports. With the expansion of the playoff, it devalues the regular season in a de facto way that is undeniable. But I think the College Football Playoff Committee's decision to add in some metrics about strength of schedule, values of wins and record will potentially keep some of these games around, which is a good thing. Then conversely, with the SEC going to 9 regular season games next year, you have to ask yourself, how does that impact the schedule? But I think the narrative, I don't know how many people truly believe it is a free space on the bingo card, because you're right. Not only is it, look, man, every sports team we've ever been around, whether you're talking about an 8U travel softball team or you're talking about the national championship contenders, momentum is a real thing. And I like to say in sports, it's not so much momentum as it is inertia. Because if you get building and you get rolling downhill, inertia tells you you're going to continue to gain speed. But if you're standing still, you're going to continue to stand still. So this first week is paramount, not only in terms of what it will mean to the 12 people locked in a room that won't let a reporter in. It is paramount to starting Monday. What do we know, believe, and think about 2 of the 5 best teams in the country as we look at rosters before we've played a game?
Well, it's a footnote to that, if you don't mind for a second, Blake. Speaking of momentum, I like the momentum we got in improving the game last week, because like as soon as the committee comes out and says strength of schedule is going to be a bigger factor, would love to know what that looks like, by the way. But I'm guessing Commissioner Greg Sankey got some reassurances on that, because what happened the next day, we get the 9-game schedule for SEC starting next year, which all of us have longed for. And oh, by the way, in an effort to preserve traditions, there's going to be some every year opponents, 3 of them for every team. So I think, to me, the quality of college football got a little bit better last week, because we're going to see more good games on good games. Losses to good teams presumably are not going to penalize you as much going forward. And oh, by the way, we're trying to preserve some rivalries that are getting lost. I was a big fan of what happened a week ago.
Well, you guys can check out the video that Jay and Chase talked about it. What was that, on Friday? I think it was. Yeah, but I was going to add in too that timing wise, like I'm catching up on the, what is it, Any Given Saturday? Is that is that what the title is, the Netflix thing? You can hear Chris's.
Awesome.
It's great, isn't it? And so I'm catching up, but like I'm just now on the episode where it's Vanderbilt, Alabama, Arkansas, Tennessee, and I mean, again, I was saying this, like, if you're the people that are doing this filming, you're like, we just completely hit the jackpot. I mean, these are the 2 stories that we just, we lean into, and what do you know, we get to shock the world for both of them. And I think it kind of goes back to like the whole concept of like the free space thing. I mean, we can sit here and say, all right, well, yeah, Texas could lose this one, but they're going to be fine in all these other games. I mean, I don't know. Like, maybe I'm just watching too much Netflix, but I'm like, I saw what happened last year in 2 games like that, and we see it happen every single season, where it's like, you can't just sit here and guarantee that you're just going to go win all these other games. And it's the SEC, right? And so there are no guarantees. And so I think it is hard for me to look at it and be like, yeah, well, you got the extra loss in there. You're going to be fine, because as we saw even last year, and we've seen it pretty much every year in college football, it's going to happen. But, like, I don't know. I think it's hard to look at it that way, even with the current playoff structure, with the expanded playoff structure that's coming. I feel like it's like, hey, this is a huge game. It's a massive game for both these teams, and it's hard to look at it any other way.
Okay, I've got a pop quiz for you two. I'm coming up with
no math.
Well, there's gonna be a little math today, although I'm gonna make it easy on you, Jay Greeson. I was coming up with the model I'm putting together, which is based on Sagarin and people like that. And it's good to look ahead and predict point spreads for games. Okay, that's why I do it. How much difference in quality is of these teams? Okay, the computers felt that there are 5 teams that stand out a notch above the pack. See if you can guess who they are. I don't think this will be too terribly difficult. This is 5 not SEC teams, but college football teams.
Texas, Georgia, Ohio State, Penn State, and Alabama.
You nailed them. Okay.
I'm going to go with the same.
Yeah. Yeah, sorry.
Damn, you're the kid who cheated off me in school.
I had the same as Jay, so I'm going to go with the same 5 teams.
I screwed that up a bit. But anyway, how much difference is there, do you guys think, between those 5 teams? Number 1 and number 5, how many points difference do the analytics see these teams?
No more than 2. And if Penn State's not number 1, if we're doing it analytically, since they're the only one with a returning quarterback, then the thing is flawed to begin with.
Blake?
Yeah. I'll say, because you're asking this question, I'll say it's probably less than 2, maybe.
You guys both nailed it. There was a 1.5 difference between Ohio State at 1 and Alabama and Georgia tied at 4. That is unbelievable. I mean, we have never seen this in the college football that I've been alive for, as far as I know. And by the way, the drop off to the next teams, Notre Dame is at 6. Notre Dame would be, according to this, about a 3.5 point dog to Ohio State. I'm sorry, Oregon is at 6, would be a 3-point dog to Ohio State on a neutral field, and Notre Dame would be 3.5. They're 7. There's then a drop off to LSU, which would be about a 5.5 point dog to Ohio State. But the gaps between these teams at the top have been so much bigger. It is just fascinating to me to see how much parity the analytics see at the top, not just in the playoff tier, but like at the very top, who should be favored to win it all tier. I think this is going to be an unbelievably exciting year in college football, and potentially the best one we have seen, if that is right.
And it makes me sad, truly, because I wish we had a 14 playoff instead of 12. I mean, because think about that. Think about the magnitude of the conference championship games in that point. Because, hey, the changing future, and I know Greg Sankey did not call me and ask me my opinion on this. I get it. And we all know why they did it. And it's the same color as my Masters shirt. It's coming. It's going to 16 before we're going to blink an eye. And then it's going to 24 or 28. And then we're going to talk about 7 guaranteed spots. I mean, you're right, Chris. The bingo card conversation to start this, I don't think that's apropos. And I don't even think it's accurate. But when we're going to guarantee the top 7 spots in the SEC and the Big Ten to get into a playoff, what the hell, man? I mean, look, I get it. They want more meaningful games for ESPN and their broadcast partners at the end of the year. But it's not going to make the game better, and it's certainly going to devalue the regular season.
I don't know. Again, I've been adamant. I think that they got it right with 12 teams. They just need to adjust the seating and shrink the schedule. They've made those pivots. See, the problem is, Jay, I think our ability to figure out who those 4 teams is, I just don't feel confident in it. Again, you've got 5 teams that are all virtually equal, according to it is going to shake out differently, right? I just think there's more parity in college football. If we had done that last year, Ohio State would have not made the playoff. And obviously, Ohio State was a deserving national champion. I just think it's a different era. I think Ohio 10 years ago, I could have. Well, yeah, but I mean, but they were the 8th seed. I mean, in the playoff or the 7 seed, right?
Potentially. I mean,
Yeah.
but the thing, if we believe we've got it right at 12, maybe I'm railing against the imminent windmills of this going to 16, 24, and 28 sooner rather than later.
Well, and I'm 100% with you on that. Again, I think 12 is a great number. I think it played out well. At 16, okay, I don't like
but I'll
it.
blow back a little
28 is an abomination.
I'll blow back a little bit to the premise that college football's never had more parity. The elite college football has never been more of a traffic jam. I don't think there's complete parity in college football, and I think that bell curve is going to widen as the rich continue to get richer and fatter and more NIL dominated.
See, I think Arkansas and Vanderbilt would disagree after last year, and I think I don't agree with you on that part. I think the bottom teams in the Power Four have more of a chance to win games on any given Saturday than they have in a long, long time. I think there's multiple
I don't
levels.
think they have the same chance to get to the playoff.
Well, no, but that's not where we're arguing here.
Well,
but they have a chance to make it interesting week in and week out in a way that we have not seen.
Well, I think that's more portal than parity.
Yeah, and I agree. But whatever it is, it is.
Chat, what do you think? A lot of people jumping in the chat. What do you think about this debate on Where Things Stand? Also, are you for the expanded college football playoff? Again, a lot of you guys in the chat. Come on, it's game week. Let's go. Let's start. Come on. As we said, we're engaged now. And so, yes, let us know your thoughts in the chat. Thumbs up, thumbs down on the expanded playoff. Any other thoughts you have on the games this week? We'll get to Zach T here in a second, who's asking the question, how bad's Auburn going to beat Baylor? We'll get to that. Zach, here in a few minutes. We'll talk about that question. Jay over there's I can already just see the reaction from Jay. Go ahead, Jay. Now's the time.
You couldn't get a grease BB up my sphincter. I'm so nervous about that game. I mean, it's going to be. I mean, Aranda's a great defensive coach. We don't know what Jackson Arnold is. They've got the better quarterback. They've got the more experienced running back. I agree, Zach. I do agree that I think Auburn 1 through 85 has the better roster. And look, Auburn's got an elite wide receiver room and an NFL secondary, truly. And Kedrick Falk may be the first defensive player in this conference hear his name called next April, because he's that good as a pass rusher. But there's a reason FanDuel has this game that has gone. It started at Auburn -2 or 2.5. I saw it throughout the summer where the numbers came in supporting Baylor, which then flipped it to Baylor was a slight favorite. And now it's back to Auburn being a very less than a field goal favorite on a Friday night with everybody watching. And the main reason as an Auburn graduate, I'm as nervous as a cat burglar in this whole conversation is because we talked momentum earlier. You want to talk about momentum one way or the other, good and terrible, or as Charles Barkley would say, horrible. Let Hugh Freeze get pantsed on Friday night with the country watching, and everything in the state of Alabama will be who's our next coach.
I'm going to make a statement. I'm going to see if you guys agree with it here. Okay, go ahead, Blake.
Before you do, Chris, before you do that, let's talk about people getting pants, because you're not going to get pantsed over at our friends at Game Time Sidekicks, because they are the best of the best. You're not pantsing those guys. Officially licensed stainless steel drinkware, all the SEC schools, over 350 more universities, top of the market quality, tons of designs and logos. They have that College Vault line. Few people have that. Everything from stainless steel sippy cups, tumblers, 40-ounce bottles, and shaker cups. SE16 for 20% discount to our viewers. Check them out, GameTimeSidekicks.com. Incredible stuff over there. And then our friends at ROKFORM, ROKFORM, the world's strongest magnetic phone case. Chris is rock locked over there right now on his camera. So am I. Extreme protection. They got the most durable, multifunctional phone case accessories. Quality is paramount at our friends at ROKFORM. And again, check them out. You get a huge discount over there. SEC25. SEC25 for 25% off. ROKFORM.com. ROKFORM.com. All right, Chris. Your big question that you have here.
Well, it's more of a statement, and I'm going to see if you guys agree or disagree. And you can give me your alternate answer here. But okay, we use the term X factor a lot. Like what an X factor is you insert this variable into things, this player, this coach, whatever, and the range of outcomes is huge. I think Jackson Arnold is the biggest X factor in the league. And maybe the country. Like if there's a guy out there in another league who's a bigger X factor than Jackson Arnold, let me know, because I see it this way. Okay. Jackson Arnold came to Oklahoma as a top 10 recruit. We saw a preview of it in the bowl game a couple of years ago, I think against Southern Cal or whoever they played. It was spectacular, but it was also erratic with some turnovers. Okay. So we know that Arnold has talent. Like he was a guy that Oklahoma was willing to let Dylan Gabriel walk, because they thought he was their guy. And I think the reasons last year that it fell apart were not necessarily all on Jackson Arnold. At the same time, you got Hugh Freeze throwing visors. You got talks of playing 3 quarterbacks. You got a lot of doubt on whether the potential is going to get realized. So I think to me, like if you said, okay, Jackson Arnold is the Jackson Arnold that we all thought we were getting a couple of years ago, then, hey, Auburn is maybe in the playoff. If he's not, you could be looking at maybe a losing season, a 500 season, and him getting fired. I think the range of his performance is massive, and I don't know that there's a player in the league where that is the case more than it is with Jackson Arnold. You guys feel free to agree or disagree. I think one rebuttal might be DJ Lagway, but that's a health issue more than anything. I think to me it's Jackson Arnold is your guy if you're picking a biggest X factor in the league.
I agree with the premise, but I would change the variable from X factor, because X factor to me screams somebody like Nick Harbor, somebody who's got unbelievable physical gifts, and it's can you get him the ball? Jackson Arnold's the biggest question mark in the country to me. And maybe that's interchangeable to X factor, because if Jackson Arnold's good with the pieces he has around him, see, I think Auburn's inverted bell curve is this could be a 5-win team that has to fire its coach and reset its program, or this could be a very real contender for Atlanta college football playoff type of environment, because they have recruited, with the exception of Ohio State, Texas, and maybe Georgia over the last 2 years, they've recruited as well as anybody. So, and at least in the high school ranks, and then you go and you get a Singleton from the portal, and you address pieces, and you've got a better offensive line than you've had in maybe a decade. Look, this is not Auburn Kool-Aid, because I've got no idea what happens Friday night. But you get by Friday night, and your 2 toughest games are in Jordan-Hare, and after that, but you don't get by Friday night, Hugh Freeze may get the Lane Kiffin treatment as they're trying to get on the bus to leave Norman, Oklahoma. I mean, so the swing factor in this, so X factor is a fine way to put it, but I completely agree that Jackson Arnold's carrying more weight than Arch Manning, if we're going to be honest about who he means to his football program. And that's saying Arch Manning's been crowned by King Paul Feinbaum as the greatest thing since sliced bread, and Tim Tebow made a great BLT sandwich with it. So it is, but Jackson Arnold, the swing of Auburn football is immense, and it hinges on Jackson Arnold.
By the way, Zach, I know you're asking the question, can Auburn run the ball efficiently against Baylor? By the way, we are going to do the Auburn-Baylor preview. Will be up in about an hour and a half. Should be up around noon Central Time. So we will dive into all those particular questions and answers on those. Of course, if you guys are not an Auburn fan, you're looking at the other games. We'll have prediction videos, just as we do every season, coming out for those games. So we'll dive into that topic a little bit more, Zach, coming up in that prediction video. But we, of course, can talk about it here too. But, Chris, I want to throw this back to you because you mentioned Jackson Arnold, and, I mean, the title of this stream is Who Has the Most to Prove? So, like, I think he's clearly someone that would be in that answer, right? I mean, Jackson Arnold has a lot to prove. Hugh Freeze may have a lot to prove. I mean, the other obvious candidates, would you say? I think Brian Kelly's up there. It's an opener, big game against Clemson. I think that, for some people, Joey Aguilar may be in that boat in a game one where Tennessee's a couple touchdown favorite against Syracuse, and just seeing how maybe they play. I mean, I think it's probably fair to say like Arch Manning in game one at Ohio State against the defending champs may have a lot to prove, the most. I don't necessarily know about that, but who else, Chris, would you put in that group there?
Man, that's a good start. I think for players, Joey Aguilar would be one, and I thought he would be on the short list of guys that I would say were an X factor. I think the difference between Auburn and Tennessee is I think Tennessee's defense can carry the way a little bit more. Not saying that Auburn doesn't have a good one, but like you can see some paths to Tennessee still winning games, and some of that's the schedule. If Aguilar is not great, I don't see it as much with Jackson Arnold, but he is absolutely up there on the players to prove. Jay, you brought up a great one, Nick Harbor. We've heard about Nick Harbor since before he signed. He's got the quarterback that should be able to give him the ball. I think he's a big one. I think coaches. I think that, you start in Kentucky. Mark Stoops has proven a lot. He's not proven he can get the program. Let me say, I'm not going to say he's driven the program into a ditch because that would be short-term memory, but certainly he's got a lot to play for with Toledo. A team a lot of people think can pull an upset. I think Jeff Levy is a guy that's got some things to prove. Again, hard situation, but you need to see proof of concept starting out at Southern Miss. You lose that one on the road, boy, did that really set you back. And I think, Hugh Freeze obviously has a lot to prove at Auburn. I mean, I think there's a ton of guys there. Brian Kelly, Blake, that's another great one. Brian Kelly, to me, doesn't need to prove he's a great coach because he's already done that, or at least a really good one. But he hasn't proven he can get LSU over the top into the playoff. The defense has sprung a few leaks while he's been there. I do trust Blake Baker to make that a lot better. But that's a good starting list. And in your addition to Brian Kelly, I mean, look, based on the stakes, you could argue that he's got more to prove than anybody, Blake.
I mean, Jay, do you disagree with that? Because I'm just thinking, and look, I'm not saying this is what's going to happen. We'll have our preview and prediction video coming up on the channel this afternoon. But, let's say LSU goes in and loses by double digits to Clemson. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but, then what? I mean, because we talk about game one for Brian Kelly and all this other stuff, and I'm just kind of fascinated to see how it plays out. Now, if you go in and win, that's a completely different story, but I mean, there's no doubt. I'm sure LSU fans are a bit nervous just based on what they've seen in openers in recent years.
Well, they should be. I think the couple of names that I'll add, because Chris threw a bunch of them out there. I think Brent Venables has a lot to prove. Maybe not as much in week one, but that seat's hot too with the complete overhaul that they've done in Norman. But the player name that I did not hear that I think has to be included here is Ty Simpson. Because he's been given the keys to a Range Rover, and that Alabama roster is loaded. And we're getting some folks on various teams and various conversations. Tyree Adams or whoever starts at left tackle that Brian Kelly trots out there and is going to be responsible for dealing with some NFL pass rushers to try to keep Garrett Nussmeier upright in the other Death Valley. He's going to have to prove something too, replacing Will Campbell. I think the coaches, the conversation about Kelly in an opener, look, the wheels are going to have to completely fall off, I think, for LSU to really have serious conversations about firing Brian Kelly. A couple of lug nuts pop, and Hugh Freeze could be gone by Halloween. So, I mean, I think the number one overall answer, especially considering the offseason, because you mentioned Hugh Freeze and the playing three quarterbacks. Then there was the whole storyline about three different dudes could call plays. Then there was the whole storyline about him getting close to a 3 handicap in his golf game this summer. Look, it hadn't been a whole lot of positive headlines. So I would start with the 2 quarterbacks in the state of Alabama. And then in the coaching, I would agree on Brian Kelly right behind Hugh Freeze, at least in week 1, who has the most to prove.
You know, guys, we're 30 minutes into this show, and we've not mentioned Kalen DeBoer. I mean, the Ryan Grubb experiment starts week 1 in Tallahassee. You know, Alabama had some issues on defense at times, getting stops. That's a big thing. But I mean, proof of concept for Alabama is a big thing. I think Alabama, I don't know, drunk the Kool-Aid is the right way to put it. I put a lot of confidence in Alabama because I think if I had to pick a team that's going to win it all, I think that the depth on the lines of scrimmage, the talent there, Alabama never slips under the radar, right? Because it's Alabama, but the star lost a little shine last year. And there's a question of, was this Nick Saban that kept Alabama there? I'm buying in, but I mean, hey, unproven is the word across the SEC this year, especially at quarterback, and they are. But I want to see what that looks like. But that's another one, too, guys. Yeah, I mean they've got Kalen DeBoer. Maybe nobody's got more to prove than him after the way last year went with the Alabama missing the playoff.
Yeah, I mean, Big Baller Brett said earlier, our guy Big Baller Brett's a little nervous because he's like, a little rain in the forecast in Tallahassee. Like, can't think of like a, more, again, nerve-wracking type setup where it's like, all right, we want to see what Ty Simpson's going to do. It's game 1. We're at Florida State. I know, fully expect him to be improved. Like, all these potential things that are setting up for one of those kind of scenarios where you're just like, is this going to be one where we're going to be sitting there for 4 quarters and we're just like biting the fingernails trying to figure out what the hell is going to happen here? Or, do we come out and, like you talked about too, Jay, I know, just the talent on the Alabama roster itself is just, it's ridiculous. And so you would think that that's kind of what wins out. But when you do have, people talking about sort of it's the quarterback and just trying to figure out exactly how that works out. And like Chris said, maybe it's, can Kalen DeBoer make this work there long term?
With an added extra pothole in the path of Jam Miller's going to be in street clothes.
Yeah. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of pressure on Ty Simpson in that one without his best running back. Now, he does have a pretty darn good receiving room, which is going to help. But
think so, Doctor?
I do wonder, yeah. Well, and I do wonder, too, as an aside with that, like, Simpson can really run. Are they going to rely on him for a few more carries in this one than they might normally if you have Jam Miller there? That's an interesting question.
Well, look, man. Let's be real honest. There's nobody across college football weeping for injuries for Alabama the way Saban has left the shelves stocked. They're not turning to a former walk-on who's wearing who's wearing number 76 to carry the football. No, I mean they're picking some dude who, we all know.
Well, I mean, we keep hearing that, okay, but it's been a while since you've seen the Derrick Henry, Mark Ingram, and look, those were elite guys. Those were Heisman winners. I get that's a really high standard, but it's
pretty damn good, brother.
Well, yeah, I was going to say him next, but like last year, you didn't look at their backfield and find that dude, and the guy that a lot of people thought was going to be the dude, and Justice Haynes is now transferred elsewhere. So I'm not saying that they don't have him, but the proof of concept here is lacking a bit.
All right, chat. What do you think? What are your thoughts? We've given you our thoughts on some of these big week 1 matchups. Who has the most to prove? Weigh in with your answer. Drop an emoji in the chat how you're feeling. Leave one of the emojis out, please. Jay, what would you like to say before we get to that?
Well, I'm going to add one more caveat to who has the most to prove. It's the entire league. You're sending some of your best in the league, and you're clamoring for 4 guaranteed playoff spots or more, depending on what the expansion is. And Auburn goes to Waco, losable game. Texas goes to Ohio State, losable game. LSU goes to Clemson, losable game. Then you've got a couple of more SEC on ACC matchups that are double 2-touchdown SEC favorites. You stub your toe in one of those, and the conversation and narrative about the big team or the Big Ten, are they the better league? And who deserves more when the playoff committee gets together? Look, there are a lot of folks who have some allegiances in our chat, but somebody said it earlier, for this 1 week only, it's horns up, baby. And I've never been the guy who goes to a basketball tournament, first round of the NCAA tournament, and if George is winning a game as an Auburn grad, I'm never the guy who goes, SEC. No, that's not who I am. But because in truth, if you're an Auburn fan or you're a Texas fan, your rivalries and their success hurts your program, at least in recruiting. But in week one, the SEC, if you're the world's biggest Aggie lover, you need Texas to go to Ohio State and win because it helps the league. And until we can get a journalist in that committee room that picks the playoff, perception is the only thing that we know truly matters to those people. And
okay, go ahead, Jay.
And the perception will be shaped by a whole lot of these non-conference games.
Something just occurred to me, and you've always got this background noise of the SEC getting criticized for its out-of-conference schedule, which it should schedule easier because what you get in conference is unlike anybody else. But hear me out on this. I'm going to see if you guys can spot the common denominator. I'm going to go through all the biggest games in the SEC this week, and I'm just going to read you the games: Auburn and Baylor, Texas and Ohio State, Tennessee and Syracuse, Alabama and Florida State, and LSU and Clemson, and South Carolina, Virginia Tech. I think those are your biggest games in terms of the SEC playing another Power 5 team. There's one commonality there. I don't know if anybody's mentioned this, but I'm going to see if you guys can get it.
None of them are at home.
Yep, you nailed it. None of them are at home, and that is unbelievable. Some of them are neutral, but none of them are at home.
Yeah. I mean, so what? All right, so take those games. By the way, chat, we're about to get to you in a second. There's some very funny comments in the chat. What's worst case scenario for the SEC? I mean, losing all 5? I mean, it's simple enough, right? But let's say if you had to pick a record, and you don't even have to give the teams you think are going to win, but let's say, what's the most probable record of those games for the SEC?
That's a great question.
And you can give the teams if you want, but we won't try to spoil all our picks for the prediction videos today and tomorrow. But just
if I could put an over-under
2 and 3.
Well, let's just if you could put an over and under on all 16 teams, how many wins will the SEC come out with this weekend? What is it? I'm not going to.
No, not all 16. Let's go with just the biggest games. So the games, the ones you just mentioned, the road games. What's the best? What do you think is most probable in terms of the number? What would you set it as? The number of wins. And again, you could simply just look at it from an underdog favorite standpoint, but
I'd set the over-under at 4 of those 6.
Okay.
Because I think
that's about right.
Because South Carolina on FanDuel is a 7.5-point favorite. Tennessee and Florida State are 2 touchdown favorites, and the other ones are all right around a field goal favorite or underdog.
And by the way, I say road games, but obviously away from home games, games that aren't all at home. Some of them are neutral, but come on. Someone will say something about that, so let me just make that very clear.
All right. Max G said Max got old. Is he saying version of Max?
So here's the thing, Jay. Matt, noted Kentucky fan, is a regular in the basketball live streams. And Matt, I'm pretty sure, has subscribed and unsubscribed our channel at least 100 times because he tells us he's going to unsubscribe every single time we say something that's not nice about Kentucky. So, but yes, it's been a while, so I think he looks over and just thinks, man, Max is clearly.
I don't know if he thinks Chris is the older version of Max, or he thinks so.
It could be. Could be.
Might be.
All right, Chris, what are you thinking? What's the number?
I think I go 3 and 3 in those. because I mean, two of them it's hard to win. I think if I had to pick, do you go over or under that? I think I'd go over, but man, it is, playing at Ohio State, playing at Baylor, playing in Clemson. That's going to be tough.
Not to spoil the picks, but Texas is one of my favorite bets on the board. I think they're going to stomp them. I think they're going to roll in Columbus, truly.
That's not a spoiler.
Yeah.
That's a teaser, folks. That's a teaser for that video coming up in several hours. You got to tune in for that one.
I might go 4-2. Look, the reason I threw out all 16, okay, you've got some laughers here. You've got a bunch of 30-point spreads. And so, like, I'm not picking any of those teams to lose, but you do have a couple of other games in there that are intriguing, with Mississippi State going to Southern Miss and Kentucky. A lot of people thinking, an upset victim potentially by Toledo, which knocked off Mississippi State a year ago. That's why I went 16. Like, I think a lot of those are layups, but to me, there's some give with some of those other games too.
The narrative about Kentucky, and sorry, Matt G, but if you're a Kentucky fan, the algorithms from FanDuel tell you to be very wary of this season opener, because it started close to 14, and I'll look it up right now, but over the weekend I saw it at like 7.5.
It is 7.5 as of this morning.
Yeah.
So that's a unbelievable amount of line movement.
Well,
yeah,
quickly, to go to our friends at FanDuel real quick, Chris. Yeah, as you said, you can check out that number, and we mentioned some of the ones that are kind of iffy. You look at the top 25 games for the SEC. Ohio State, 2.5-point favorite right now against Texas. Tennessee, 13.5-point favorite against Syracuse. Georgia, 39.5 against Marshall. Alabama, 13.5 on the road against Florida State. Oklahoma, 35.5 against Illinois State. Clemson, 3.5-point favorite over LSU. Ole Miss, 35.5 over Georgia State. Texas A&M, 24.5-point favorite against UTSA. South Carolina, 7.5-point favorite against Virginia Tech. And I think that's all the ones here that I see here of note in this tab on FanDuel. Remember, they are a title sponsor now, guys. Check them out over at FanDuel. If you do your bets, do it with our friends at FanDuel. Bet responsibly. Have some fun with it. All kinds of fun stuff. Again, you can do the straight-up wagers. You can do the single, same-game parlays. That they've got it all. Future bets on anything you want. Check them out over at FanDuel. But
John Mateer approved.
Yes.
I'm going to throw one more at you guys, because I think we'll be on the way out here in a few minutes. But one game we didn't talk about, and I guess I didn't really talk about them much, at least I didn't bring it up. I just have kind of presumed that South Carolina is going to go to Atlanta and take care of things in the Beamer Bowl. This has been a notoriously slow starting team, however, under Shane Beamer. And I guess I haven't brought it. I think Virginia Tech is being overrated coming into this year, just based on what I can see on paper. I don't understand why that game is a 6.5, 7.5, whatever it is as we are sitting here. But you've got that, and you've also got a lot of replacement on defense. You've also got a new offensive coordinator. There's some variables with South Carolina. I think we've all assumed they're going to be pretty good, that schedule willing, it is a playoff contender, but there's a lot of intrigue with me to see how week one goes, because there's a lot of questions that you want to see answered there with coordinators and such.
And arguably, Brent Pry has the hottest seat in the country.
Yes.
So,
and by quarters, I mean Mike Shula being. I don't think we've spent much time talking about that, but Shane Beamer's offensive coordinator hires have been a little bit underwhelming, in my opinion. I know they've had some good games, but that's one that we have not spent a lot of time on. That I think could be worth a look in terms of, hey, if. And again, I think South Carolina goes down to Atlanta and wins, but there are some built-in questions, and maybe that's been baked into the line a bit here.
Yeah, but they got a dude behind center.
Yes,
Dude.
Well, those questions will be answered this after. Or maybe I think South Carolina, Virginia Tech may be one we publish for tomorrow. But yeah, South Carolina fans or Virginia Tech fans, if you're watching this, we'll get into that game in depth. Quickly before we do hop off in a few, I want to get to the chat because as Bradley and Jay have been going back and forth, it's game week. Got to get that cup. I mean, come on. It's
no. Bradley and I got a bet.
Oh, that's right. I forgot.
Yes.
I think I remember seeing that. Yes. Okay. All right. So that's
if
right.
LSU goes to the other Death Valley and wins, I got to buy him a game time sidekick LSU cup. I forget what he's got to do for us. I think like $20 in the super chat or something like that.
$100,000 super chat sounds good to me. Bradley. That's what we're putting you on the hook for. $100,000 in the super chat.
A game time sidekick's got an LSU holy grail, for God's sakes.
Hey, we don't make the rules here. That's just that's how it works. But if Jay does buy that cup, don't forget he can buy it SC16 for 20% off discount to do that. But yeah, Chris always flashing that cup. Yep. Well, it's better than Chris flashing something else. So Game Time Sidekicks, check it out there on the screen. But by the way, we were making the point earlier about everybody needs to be rooting for Texas. Jordan said, to hell with that, because Ohio State, I'm rooting for Ohio State. I don't know if we've ever had anyone on this channel at any point. I don't think an SEC fan has never came up to us and said, you know what, I'm rooting for Ohio State this week. But actually, there may have been some in the playoff last year. But yeah, we'll see kind of how it goes on that. But all right, Jordan's going to go with Ohio State. By the way, Matt also said that if Mark Stoops loses to Toledo, he's going to go ahead and put the house up for sale. Well, that's where Kentucky fans stand. By the way, I think Jay and Brian are doing the Kentucky and Toledo preview video this week. Jay, Kentucky fans, do you think they're going to be excited about that one, or should I go ahead and just warn them that
across the SEC, because while we opened the show with the falseness of the narrative of a bingo card free space for some of these tight games, I don't know if two fan bases are more nervous than LSU's probably third, but Kentucky and Auburn fans, I mean, yes, it's game week, and yes, we're stoked, but dear Lord, man. And, of course, I'm covering high school football on Friday night. So you don't think I'm going to be keeping stats with one hand and checking my phone with the other? I mean, that's going to be an impossibility.
It's going to be an ADD Central weekend for everybody. I mean, it's, again, an unusual number of good games. Also, we get the early time slots on some of these, which is rare. Like, how many times are we doing must-see TV at 11 in the morning on Saturdays? I mean, this is going to be a wild ride.
Be drunk by then.
Hey, I will tell you right now,
maybe
if you're looking for the biggest overreaction window of the entire season, potentially,
Friday
it is
night.
Coming. No. Well, okay. No. So technically, yes, you could take 7 p.m. Central on Friday night into what I think is the real true one, and that is the 4 games that take place from 11 to 11:45 a.m. Central Time on Saturday. Texas at Ohio State, Tennessee against Syracuse, Mississippi State at Southern Miss for a potential reason there, and then Toledo at Kentucky. I think you're talking total overreaction window there to whatever happens one way or the other for several of those teams. So
I got a question for Jay on the way out. Jay, you have said many times on this show that you've stopped drinking many a time. Has Hugh Freeze driven you to the place where this is now a possibility?
I'll let you know Monday.
Okay, well,
we're gonna do the reaction stream on Friday night, and we're gonna I'm gonna try to predict Jay's reaction, just what I think he's doing at the moment we are doing the live stream on Friday night, and just see if I can.
You got a way to join that after high school football.
You have to, because
you could also just, you could send a text. I think Chris used to do this last year. If there was something he couldn't join, he would send me a text with his thoughts or notes on why he was going to pick this team or something, and I would just read them on the screen. And just an absolute filibuster or something on your reaction to whatever happens on Friday night.
Well,
see,
and
go ahead.
Somebody in here say congrats. It's 2 years for them too. Look, man. if you were paying attention during baseball season or even through the summer where we had story time with Jay, there almost every single one of these damn stories said, all right, there may have been some alcohol involved. And so it just, look, man, you get kids and find some of us later than others in life, but at some point you just kind of got to handle your business and grow up a little bit.
See, I think for reaction value, meltdown Jay Greeson would be pretty spectacular on Friday night late, but gloating Jay Greeson also could be pretty entertaining.
No, there won't be gloating. There'll be
Okay.
relief. Now, there could be a sizable amount of anger, and I'm trying to think of words that rhyme with hue and freeze that can be said on a family array of networks. Please will not be one of them.
We may be looking for some new sponsors on a Friday night that revolve around that potentially. But just quickly, though, a couple other things before we hop off here. So Elijah said, I think the Tennessee core has a ton to prove, too. A lot of inexperience. They're going to have to be good if Tennessee wants to do something this year. By the way, Elijah, we've already recorded the Tennessee-Syracuse preview. That'll be up at some point today. So, of course, you're a member of the It Just Means More tier here. You got your notifications on. You'll know when that goes up. And Matt says he's never watched this channel while under the influence. So Matt, you've been in a lot of Kentucky basketball reaction streams, so I'm going to challenge and push back on that maybe a little bit, because boy, we've had some reaction streams on that one. But two, quickly, there's something I was going to ask earlier and I forgot. And again, this may be longer than like week one in terms of time frame, but we'll do quick picks on this one. Who's the team we're not or haven't talked about enough in the preseason? We've been talking for months and months and months. That's exactly the team I was going to go with. That was my pick, so we're all going to do a clean sweep of Missouri.
In truth, to answer the question at the top there, if Bo Prabula looks the part, that's a 10-win team that's going to say, how in the hell are we not in the playoff? Because that schedule is imminently doable.
Plus 880 to make the playoff right now on FanDuel. Wow.
Wait a minute. So what was it? Is that changed a little bit?
Well, their win total is obscene. It's like 6.5.
Yeah.
Now, the juice is heavy on the on over, but means you got to bet like 180 to win
176. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, this is, go ahead, Jay, because I've got a thing here.
I mean, I think that's, as Brian Edwards and I did each win total breakdown across the league. And look, I got to hold my nose and hit and click over on laying 176 juice, but I don't know if there's a more clear cut one than Missouri going over 6.5.
Yeah, that's interesting because Blake, when you said that, I was like, I don't think the odds were that prohibitive for Missouri, as prohibitive early. I look back when I took notes, this is about maybe a month ago, Missouri was plus 730. And I said at the time, I thought, hey, if you're looking for a sneaky playoff team, it's Missouri, and here's why. Now, maybe it's the quarterback questions, them not being solid on a starter from the jump in camp, opening the possibility they could play two guys. But it's interesting to me. Actually, the predictive models have grown a little higher on Missouri as they made their last-minute tweaks before the season. But it's interesting to me that the odds fell, and I'm guessing that's a quarterback uncertainty issue.
Well, again, if you're wondering why maybe we all went as quickly as we did on that one, for me, I mean, they don't play a road game till October 18th. 3 of their 4 biggest games this season are all at home. And I just look at their schedule and look at everybody else's schedule, and I'm like, I just think it sets up wonderfully.
Well, I know Alabama's after a bye week, and I mean, their bye weeks, I mean, everything about the Cosmic Tumblers clicked for Missouri's schedule.
Yeah, I think A&M, too, comes after. They go to Vanderbilt on October 25th. They get a bye, then they host A&M. So, yeah, I mean, South Carolina, Alabama, A&M, all at home, at Oklahoma. And then you've got, like, I guess you could potential swing games for all these teams, at Auburn, at Vanderbilt, at Arkansas. Like, that to me is like the widest array of who knows, like, where you're, like, what's the combined record of those 3 teams? No clue. And so, like, yeah, it's just.
Sitting here as an Auburn fan, I'm thinking, man, oh man, do I miss the taste of dark liquor. But and it could be in our future this weekend, boys. Could be in our future.
Wow.
Here's another couple for you, Blake, on the way out. I think A&M year 2 under Mike Elko, getting the running back that made that offense go a year ago. I think they're only going to be favored to lose maybe 3 looking ahead in this, and those will all be pretty narrow. That's one that I think is interesting. And Ole Miss, we haven't spent a lot of time talking about Ole Miss just because of all the guys that the Rebels lost to the draft and to the NFL. But Austin Simmons is supposed to be a dude. I know they lost a lot of defense, but again, in the camp of Missouri, easy schedule. And by the way, the analytics have Ole Miss as a borderline playoff caliber team. Now, I don't know what that's based on because, again, these guys are all new. But I think we've just kind of assumed a drop-off based on the talent lost. But the schedule is one of the easier ones in the league. And if Austin Simmons is what everybody thinks he is, that's kind of an intriguing one to me also.
Yep. All right. By the way, before we head out, we got a Rusty. Rusty's one of the most long-time chatters we've had. I mean, Rusty was with us when we had like 100 subscribers, I'm pretty sure, back in 2021. And so Rusty's question for the week, is Arkansas going to go 10 for 10 on the drives against the SWAC this week? We'll find out. So.
Yeah, that's what they did last year in the opener.
Yeah. Auburn lit them up pretty good last year, and I think Taylon Green's going to be a first-round pick.
Didn't that one last year get so bad that they just ended the game like 5 or 10 minutes early?
Well, they had a running clock.
Yeah, that's what it was.
And they may not, as Matt says, because at some point you just take a knee. But I don't know. I guess it depends on how many possessions they get. And I mean, let's just be painfully honest. It's not like Bobby Petrino would ever run up a score.
Well,
that could.
We'll see. All right. Speaking of, Arkansas and Ole Miss play September 13th. Don't forget that. Interesting game in week 3. But all right, we're out of here, Chris. Wrap it up. Subscribe. Notifications. My goodness, it's game week. All our prediction videos are coming. You guys love those, especially when we pick against your favorite team. You can check those out on the channel, and lots of stuff on the way this week.
Yeah, a couple of requests. If you've not subscribed, do that. That's free. Super chats are always appreciated. Leave us a thumbs up in the comments. Nice remarks if you like the show. That helps us. Do that on your podcast platforms too. Even if you don't listen, go and review us on iTunes and some of those places, or Apple Podcasts, I guess it is, not iTunes. Those things help us get noticed too. We do have audio platforms aside from this, and we're doing baseball, basketball pretty much year round. Not baseball yet, but we'll get there this fall, and Blake and Max have got us covered in basketball. I'll be back for that. But yeah, subscribe to us. We're going to cover the heck out of those 3 sports year round. And yeah, Blake, I think we're out, right? So, oh yes, merchandise. Blake, where's the merchandise store?
Well, it's not up yet, but it'll be up soon. I'm just giving you a little teaser here. Some may appreciate me just holding this over my face the entire time. But yeah, the merch store is coming on Wednesday, guys. So you'll be able to get your merch and all that stuff. And yeah, we appreciate you guys. Deacon, listen, I hope our relationship can get better here. I know you support us in basketball, the other sports as well. Everyone's 0-0. All right. Deacon, Auburn, Baylor prediction coming up in an hour. Jump into that. We appreciate you guys.
Yeah. Thank you guys for watching. For Jay Greeson and Blake Lovell, I'm Chris Lee at Southeastern 16. God bless you. We'll see you again soon with more SEC content here at the channel.